Lionel Messi scored 3 against Algeria. Then he followed it up with 2 more against Austria. Every single Argentina goal at this World Cup has had his fingerprints all over it. And now, yet another record sits in his collection, the all-time World Cup scoring record. The remarkable part? Lionel Messi turned 39 this week. For months leading up to the tournament, plenty of respected analysts, former players, and football experts insisted that Argentina manager Lionel Scaloni was making the one decision he couldn't afford to make. They argued that betting on an aging core, especially Messi, was a gamble destined to fail. 2 matches into the tournament, that gamble is starting to look like the easiest decision Scaloni has ever been criticized for. This is the story of a decision Scaloni made months ago, and, more importantly, why he refused to change his mind. Scaloni has never been a manager who panics. He doesn't chase headlines, and he certainly doesn't make U-turns just to satisfy public opinion. He saw something in this Argentina squad, and in Lionel Messi specifically, that very few people outside the national team camp appeared to believe. To understand why his decision is now being celebrated, we first have to understand why so many people thought it was a mistake. And to be fair, the criticism wasn't ridiculous. In fact, it made perfect sense. History wasn't on Argentina's side. The World Cup is filled with examples of defending champions who trusted their old heroes for one tournament too many. Italy arrived at the 2010 World Cup still relying heavily on the squad that had lifted the trophy in 2006, only to crash out in the group stage. Spain's legendary golden generation suffered the same fate in 2014. Germany, the defending champions in 2018, were eliminated before the knockout rounds even began. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Managers who remained loyal to the players who won them glory often discovered that time waits for nobody. So when Lionel Scaloni announced a squad featuring 17 players from Argentina's 2022 World Cup winning team, concerns immediately followed. 9 members of the squad were over the age of 30. Nicolas Otamendi, now 38 years old, remained a key defensive figure despite coming off a disappointing season with Benfica. Emiliano Martinez, at 33, was likely playing in his final World Cup. Christian Romero entered the tournament carrying injury concerns. And then there was Lionel Messi himself, a player approaching his 39th birthday after suffering a muscle issue during Inter Miami's final match before the international break. The only major veteran missing was Angel Di Maria, and that wasn't Scaloni's decision. Di Maria had already retired from international football following the 2024 Copa America. There were also legitimate concerns about Argentina's defensive depth. Many observers believed Scaloni was relying on experience and leadership to compensate for weaknesses elsewhere in the squad. When you combine those concerns with the historical pattern of defending, Scaloni's belief in Lionel Messi wasn't based on nostalgia. It was based on conviction. When questions about Messi's future with Argentina began to intensify before the tournament, Scaloni never flinched. He repeatedly said that Messi had earned the right to decide his own international future. But then he added a line that revealed everything about his thinking. For the good of football, Messi has to be here. That wasn't just praise. It was the foundation of Argentina's entire World Cup plan. Scaloni didn't simply include Messi in the squad and hope for the best. He built the team around him. The tactical structure, the spacing between the lines, the movement of the midfielders and forwards, everything was designed to maximize the moments when Messi received the ball in dangerous areas. The objective was never to ask a 39-year-old to run himself into exhaustion. The objective was to make sure that when the biggest moments arrived, they belonged to Lionel Messi. Former Argentina captain Javier Zanetti explained the thinking perfectly before the tournament even began. With Messi on the pitch, he said, Argentina immediately become contenders. Because nobody understands what that team needs better than Messi himself. And if anyone had actually looked beyond the headlines, the evidence supporting Scaloni's decision was already there. Messi finished as the top scorer in South American World Cup qualifying with 8 goals, helping Argentina build a commanding 9-point lead at the top of the table. This wasn't a legend hanging on for one final appearance. This was still one of the best footballers on the planet. So when Messi suffered a muscle issue during Inter Miami's final match before the tournament, panic spread quickly. Critics saw confirmation of everything they'd been warning about for months. Scaloni saw something else. He monitored Messi's recovery, watched him train, declared him fit, and then did what he always intended to do. He started him against Algeria. No panic. No last-minute changes. No abandoning the plan. And then came Kansas City. In what was approaching his 200th appearance for Argentina, Lionel Messi delivered the first World Cup hat-trick of his extraordinary career, scoring all 3 goals in a commanding 3-0 victory over Algeria. At 39 years old, 1 goal thundered through the goalkeeper's hands from distance. Another came after reacting quickest to a rebound. The third was vintage Messi, a curling left-footed finish into the bottom corner, the kind of goal he has been scoring for more than 2 decades. The hat-trick drew him level with Miroslav Klose's all-time World Cup scoring record of 16 goals and made Messi the oldest player ever to score a World Cup hat-trick, surpassing Cristiano Ronaldo's previous age record. Nearly 6 World Cups into his international career, Lionel Messi was still breaking new ground. The entire argument that Argentina would simply manage his minutes and rely on his presence rather than his production lasted approximately 1 hour. Because 4 days later, he did it again. Against Austria in Dallas. And this was the performance that really mattered. Unlike Algeria, Austria didn't sit deep and defend. Under Ralf Rangnick's influence, they pressed aggressively, played physically, and forced Argentina into the kind of battle many experts believed an aging squad would struggle to survive. Instead, Messi produced another masterpiece. He scored both goals in Argentina's 2-0 victory. Ironically, his moment of history nearly arrived in disaster. Less than 10 minutes into the match, Messi stepped up to take a penalty with the all-time World Cup scoring record hanging in the balance. He dragged it wide. For many players, that moment would have become the story. For Lionel Messi, it became motivation. He responded by sweeping home a left-footed finish from a Facundo Medina cutback to break Miroslav Klose's record once and for all. Then, deep into stoppage time, after Julian Alvarez's shot was saved, Messi reacted first again to score his second of the night. The record was his. Alone. 18 World Cup goals. 2 clear of every player who had ever lived. Through 2 matches, Argentina had scored 5 goals. Messi had scored all 5. Argentina had already qualified for the knockout stage with a match to spare. Messi led the Golden Boot race. And the doubts that had surrounded Scaloni's decision for months suddenly looked very different. But perhaps the most important moment wasn't either goal. It was the missed penalty, because with history waiting and the entire football world watching, Messi didn't shrink from the pressure. He answered it with 2 goals. That competitive obsession, the quality Scaloni kept insisting people underestimated, was unfolding in real time. Now, to be fair, 2 victories don't completely settle a debate with this much history behind it. Italy in 2010, Spain in 2014, and Germany in 2018 didn't collapse immediately either. They looked comfortable early before eventually running out of energy when the pressure increased and the tournament reached its decisive stages. So no, the case isn't closed.